Hi, welcome to this astrology report for June 2nd through June 5th, Monday through Thursday, 2025. I am excited to talk to you about the week ahead. I feel like there are a few different things going on, but I feel like the main story is about Venus here, conjunct Chiron, leaving Aries after quite an exciting couple of months. I'm just going to bring the magnifier over here to hopefully help with clarity. Um, I will be adding things to the chart as we go if that's helpful for you. If you're interested in learning astrology, I hope that uh, noting what I'm talking about on the chart is helpful for you. And if you're just interested in hearing about the astrology part of it and not interested in that aspect, I hope that you can just kind of ignore the chart and enjoy listening to the report. So basically, Venus has been on quite an adventure for the last 3 months or so. And now, as Venus is finally leaving Aries after quite an exciting retrograde that involved Saturn and Neptune and the nodes and the Aries Pisces threshold, Venus is finally getting ready to move on from Aries, where frankly, she's a little uncomfortable. So, as she's doing that, she's crossing over Chiron, which is the wounded healer. And Chiron's been here in Aries through the whole process, but Venus and Chiron have never met up. And if you've been listening to my astrology reports for a while, you know that I actually like to sort of personify all this when possible. And for example, I like to think of it as a house. So let's imagine that there's a house and it's owned by Aries. And Chiron has been in this house for quite some time. And then Venus has been also here visiting for the last few months, off and on, doing all kinds of different things. But somehow Chiron and Venus have never managed to meet up. They haven't been in the same room at the same time. They haven't been home at the same time. And now they finally are, right before Venus leaves. It's like right before she leaves, she's standing in that doorway to move on to Taurus, and Chiron's there too. And they have a conversation. They have an exchange. And I think that there's something profoundly healing about this conjunction at the end of this powerful retrograde. I think that we have all been working deeply with Venus themes. When Venus goes retrograde, we're asked to sort of go inward about anything related to Venus, relationships, what we value, what we cherish, what really means the most to us, what we consider beautiful. And finances can come up with Aries, relationships, but I love relationships for sure, but also just relationship dynamics. And something about Venus in Aries has been calling special attention to our own unique perspective. Part of the story of this Venus retrograde process for the last 3 months, let's say, has been about getting in touch with your own unique desires, voice, opinions, preferences, and finding ways to express that. Not through overthinking, but actually almost intuitively and from a place of self love. Um, Again, themes related to relationships, themes related to finance, to our sense of beauty, what we like. Various things along those lines may have come to the surface over the course of the last few months while Venus was moving around the chart. And then now, as Venus is leaving the sign this week, she comes into this conjunction with Chiron. So there's real healing potential here. Chiron can signify healing or wounds, right? But generally, it's a bit of both. Generally, it's the wound first, obviously, and then the healing. So sometimes something could be activated. When Chiron is active in the sky, it can signify that some pain, some wound, some injury, something difficult is being sort of ignited for some reason, highlighted for some reason, called to the surface. And we always have the potential, when that's the case, to have that place become a place of strength. So, whatever wound or difficulty we've been dealing with for the last few months, as Venus moves through Chiron, it's the potential to, yeah, that wound could be activated, but this time we're doing it differently. This time we have more wisdom. And let's talk a little bit about why that's the case. I actually want to use an arrow here to show Venus's movement. So Venus moved through Pisces in the winter, really, and then into Aries, where she turned retrograde, went back into Pisces, and then stationed direct, came back into Aries, and is now finally moving on and out of the sign. So Venus has been spending a lot more time here in Aries and Pisces than usual. And when Venus passed through Pisces, it was a very different energy. I was just talking about how the Venus and Aries signature can be a little bit getting in touch with our own unique voice and opinions and beliefs and desires, and finding ways to express them intuitively. And yeah, kind of learning to put ourselves first in some way that we hadn't before. Understanding the importance of that, not just because it makes us better for other people, but because we're here to express ourselves in this world. We're here to be who we are. And so following what lights you up, following what feels good and right to you, is the way that you intuitively express yourself in this world. So there may have been themes related to that in some sort of a way showing up this past spring and late winter. But when Venus was in Pisces, Venus is exalted in Pisces. And there's like a transcendent love component to it. An unconditional love versus transactional love, right? That's where Venus, in the middle of all of this, was really able to tap into her greatest strength and power. She was able to feel comfortable and at ease and confident and worthy and secure and beautiful. And from that place of security, we were able to continue the Venus retrograde conversation. And so some of those energies were sort of brought back into Venus and Aries. So initially, it may have felt that tension. But then once Venus went into Pisces and picked up a little of that security and brought that back, it was a big help. And now, as Venus is leaving the sign conjuncting Chiron, it really suggests those healing themes could be present for us, right? And there are a few other positive things happening in the sky too. Like at this time, Venus just happens to be sextile Jupiter. Here's Jupiter at 28 degrees of Gemini, the late degrees of Gemini, coming into a sextile with Venus, which is conjunct Chiron here. And Jupiter is the other benefic. Venus is a benefic, and so is Jupiter. And so they suggest positive, easy growth. Different planets bring us growth and development in different ways. Venus might make a new friend or bring some sort of a gift, whereas Saturn might restrict or take something away or delay something in order to help us grow. Venus and Jupiter do it in easy, pleasant ways. And so when we're working with Venus and Jupiter, we can expect opportunity, positive feelings, expansiveness. And then a sextile is a positive aspect too. It's just easy. It's also kind of light. It's not as heavy as a trine. It's just sort of like nice and supportive. So I think that that's really lovely. Um, the fact that that's happening at this time as well is a really good thing. So we're also at a point where we're sort of finally broken up from the Mars Venus trine, which is a nice thing. Let me just get that on the chart too. Starting to have a little too much here, but we already have Venus and Chiron. We also have Mars over here in Leo. And these planets are in a trine to each other. They still, I'm going to say they've split from that now with a 5-degree orb. It's a little too broken up. And I think that this is good. I know a Venus-Mars trine is a good thing, but I think in fire, it's just a lot of passion for relationships, which can be a wonderful thing, but can also kind of be a stressful thing. A little bit of calming of the fire energies might be helpful. I think that uh, Mars has been through a retrograde cycle this year as well, involving Leo. Mars was retrograde. I mean, this chart is really getting crazy. If you are sort of not fully able to follow along with this chart, understand that that's understandable. It's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit too much. So Mars had a retrograde too. Mars came through the house and sign of Cancer, went into Leo, went retrograde, went direct, and now is moving on and out. And so Mars has spent a lot more time in this fire sign as well, just like Venus. And it's, like I said, just a lot of electricity, a lot of movement. Venus into Taurus will be nice. Venus into Taurus will be relaxing. Venus is in her home sign, one of her home signs in Taurus, and it's sort of less ethereal than Venus in Pisces. Venus in Taurus is like an earthly goddess energy, not a sort of ethereal goddess energy. It's the grounded version of Venus. I think often we tend to see the financial sides of Venus play out more. The physical appearance stuff kind of show up a little bit more. It's just nice. Food tastes a little bit better when Venus is in Taurus. You know, the world looks a little bit more beautiful. Our senses are sort of on fire and doing what they're meant to do when we have Venus in Taurus. So we're doing things differently now after all we've learned, after all the excitement of the personal planets retrograde that occurred this year. At the end of this fire trine between Mars and Venus, you know, we are still adjusting to this Saturn and Neptune energy, which is also involving, let's just keep making the chart crazy. Since it's this crazy, we might as well just continue it. You know, normally I kind of try to hold myself back, but since I've let myself go, I might as well just go completely crazy. Good morning, Miss Tell. Nice to see you. I'm not sure how it's going this morning. I think I've gotten in a little bit over my head. I'm not going to use arrows for these two because it's too much. I hope that you're doing well. How are you, Miss Tell? I haven't seen you for a little while. Saturn and Neptune are also dancing back and forth across this Aries-Pisces threshold this year, and they're doing it together. And so this has been an interesting energy to get used to. Saturn in Aries with Neptune there. I feel like Saturn is trying to give us a new plan for Aries, a new plan of how to move forward, and Neptune's just kind of like blurring the boundaries, making it really hard to see exactly what that is, but also making sure that we continue to dream and just imagine the future rather than taking steps before we really know exactly where we want to go. We also have the nodes here sort of along this axis. And I just want to remind of, if there's one planet, one point in the sky that I think is the most important, I think it might be the nodes, where we're having the eclipses. That's what the nodes are all about. And if you track the movement of the nodes through your chart, you will really notice the way the emphasis is on that axis while the nodes are moving through it. So um, be sure to check out my horoscopes on my channel, Best Read for Your Rising Sign, to find out that information if you don't already know, because it is really interesting to track. But just as a collective, it says a lot too about what we're working through. And part of what we're working with right now is letting go of over planning, perfectionism, overdoing, needing to have everything worked out in advance, and moving towards more of a, well, I don't know exactly everything right now, but um, I am open and I trust my feelings and I trust my instincts, and I'm going to take care of myself as well as others as I go. So we have to remember as well that Pluto is in the early degrees. I dare not add anything else to this chart. Pluto is at 3 degrees at the early degrees as well, kind of showing us more and more about this new era that we're stepping into, making sure that we are going deep, that this process is taken seriously. There's almost a little bit of detachment with Pluto in Aquarius that can make that possible. There's also a Mercury Mars sextile coming into play this week. Another harmonious aspect, but not too serious, a little bit light. So I think we're doing things differently right now. We've learned a lot from the Venus retrograde, and we have a new approach to any conflict narrative that you've been working through in the last 3 months or so. You have that security of the Venus in Pisces to help, and you also have that leadership, action-oriented, unique, empowered Venus and Aries energy to help. And we're doing things in a new way with all these planets, outer planets and new signs. We're doing it in a different world. You know, it's time to do things differently because the world is different. I think that might be all I have. Oh, nodal return can be really interesting, Miss Tell, and I'm seeing that from you. Can be a time where it can be just a little more significant than other periods in your life, especially wherever those houses are in your chart. You might really notice those themes being really active for the next year or so. And cool to think about releasing what doesn't work for you in the Virgo house and really, really embracing and leaning into what does work for you in the Pisces house. That can be something to think about with it as well. Please check out the horoscopes on my channel. I'm finishing up June now. Those will be done in the next couple of days. And I just appreciate you all being here so much. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care.